Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we are talking about the Amazon series Tampa Baes, and you guys know I've done a reaction to the trailer and to the first episode. I'll link those in the cards and down below and everything if you want to check those out if you haven't already. This is going to be slightly different because am I over 30 seconds? Fuck Amazon. They copyright struck my video, even though it is textbook fair use. So yeah, I'm gonna go after them for it, but it takes a while, so I have to treat this like the L word or Dexter, which it is not. So I have to be short with my clips. But I'm going to be talking about the entire first season, my overall thoughts on the show, my overall thoughts on the cast, and what I liked and what I didn't like. So make sure to leave your thoughts down in the comment section. And if, you haven't seen it, there's obviously going to be spoilers. This isn't like a show where there's going to be, it's not going to change your life. So you can watch this video if you haven't watched the show. And yeah, as usual, you know the deal. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, what are you doing with your life? It's free. Click that button and join our Silver Stars family, because in less than 2 weeks, it's December, which means I will be posting a video every single day in December with tons and tons of content, so you don't want to miss out on any of those. And if you enjoy this video, leave a big thumbs up because it really does help me out. And I asked for so little. I asked for so little in return for all this free content. I'm only messing with you guys, but seriously, it really does help. So thank you for pushing it. And let's get on to the video. Okay, so overall, I enjoyed the show a lot more than I thought I would. And as I said in my episode 1 review, I am obviously like the whitest, blondest person alive. And I also lived in Tampa for over a decade. And I have like quite a deep connection there because I have never lived anywhere longer than 4 years. So living in Tampa for where I went to high school, university, grad school, and I worked there, like I feel as though it was somewhere where I actually spent time and, had like a community and stuff. So I know that won't help anyone else with the show, but I was like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme whenever places would come on. So I really enjoyed that. And I mean, I'm just being honest, like I wouldn't have watched the show if it wasn't about lesbians. I'm not a reality TV person, and the lesbian thing and a bit of Tampa was the main draws for me. And I also understand that, the show did get criticism for being extremely white, which is the same thing with the L Word and Gen Q, and I didn't watch it, but the real L Word. Editing Ash here, guys. I just wanted to draw your attention to some links that I've left in the description box. I've left some sources for people who are way better equipped to talk about the lack of diversity in this show, and I've put a couple of articles down there and also a link to a YouTube video by Jade Fox, who's another YouTuber. And I mean, Jade certainly doesn't need me plugging her videos. She is super successful, and she did a reaction discussion about the trailer when it came out a few months ago. So if you haven't seen that, I'd really encourage you to check that out and to also check out the articles as well. So overall, like I said, the show was predominantly about skinny, beautiful, wealthy, like they're not like billionaires, but they all seem to have good careers and make a good income. And there's a lot of thinness, a lot of beauty, a lot of whiteness. And I found that the things I enjoyed the most about the show weren't too heavily focused on, and I wish they'd gone down this route more. So the things I enjoyed the most were, one, the kind of career side, and that they all had good jobs that they worked hard at, and they all were, it was very different careers as well. Like, yeah, okay, there was a couple of nurses, and then they also had like an artist, a makeup artist, and 2 makeup artists. And I just think that that is all so fantastic. Like, a lot of them had their own businesses and self-employed, and they just were crushing it. Like, I wanted to see more of that and know more about them on that side. Like, I'm sure I'm in the minority and people want like the drama and the drinking and the going out and stuff, but that's so, I mean, like, I don't even drink, so it's so uninteresting to me. And I'll talk more about that when I talk about things I didn't like. But I would have loved to have known more about all sides of their career. Like, where are they hoping to go with their careers? Like, people like Cuppie, like, we saw a few clips of her working in the bar. I wanted to know about her nurse practitioner school. Like, that you have to be incredibly not only smart to be a nurse practitioner, but you have to be good with people, you have to be organized and all these things. And I just think that showing more of them being successful career women, that's going to do a lot more good representation wise than like, oh, they all go out and get drunk and have a fight. Like, and then there's characters like Brianna and Haley. We didn't even really know anything about what they did for work, and I spoke to them behind the scenes, and their story is incredibly interesting. That they have all these businesses that they are completely self-made. They did it themselves. Like, no one, you know, all these like rich people like Jeff Bezos and stuff like that are like, I'm self-made. And it's like, you got $100,000 off your parents and you were allowed to not work for 2 years. That's not self-made. These people are self-made, and I would have loved to have known more about that, know more about their businesses, like how the things work out. Like, do they have an office? Do they employ people? And yeah, okay, maybe that's boring to some people, but that's what I would have preferred to see successful lesbians killing it. They started to go there, like with Mel, the way they kind of incorporated hers, it was really cool, and like, she's super talented. And then you had like Nelly doing Ali's mom's brows, like stuff like that. Like, it's so much more interesting and like fun. And you could have also, the way you had Cuppie and Mel, which I totally related to them so much when they were talking about anxiety, because I have super crippling anxiety, and I also kind of like felt similar to both Mel and Cuppie, that they're, you know, supposed to, or like they're the kind of people that everybody thinks that you're like super happy, and like you never get sad or depressed or this. And it's like, yeah, I have anxiety 24/7. And when they had that conversation, like talking about it, things like that, like maybe you can't show and tell with jobs and careers, because obviously like you're putting it on a television show. So some, like, I've worked places where you're literally not allowed to talk about what you do. Like when I worked for Poker Stars, who were brilliant, and Microgaming, who were fucking awful, they both were like, you can't even say that you work here. Like, you have to say that you work in e-gaming. So I'm sure, and having worked in the medical field before, I'm sure this is the situation. So they could have had, you know, you had Marissa, Cuppie, and Jordan that were all nurses, and like Cuppie's being a nurse practitioner, Jordan's a traveling nurse. Like, those are, you could have them like talking about the work and things together and this versus that. I mean, not all the time, but it would have been something other than fighting and drinking.
I'm honestly about to rip a bitch's hair out, so she needs to fucking shut up. Nah, fuck them. She's a big ass fucking liar. So is fucking Jordan.
The other thing I really liked, which could have, you know, worked hand in hand with this, is the fact that they went into everyone's like backgrounds and heritage and even just their family. Like, we met a lot of people's family members, which I really liked. It helps like round out the person.
Our moms were having the time of their lives. They were making friends with everybody.
And again, I think they started to go here and then they pulled back, and it's like, what are you doing? Again, there was really interesting aspects here that they just didn't go into. Like, Haley seemed to have a really interesting story, and it's like, it was just like they never mentioned it again. She had like one tiny bit, and I would have loved to have seen more of Haley and Mack. Like, Mack seemed to really be helping her and bringing her into a Christian place that was accepting of the LGBTQ community. And although like I'm not a Christian person, but I have a lot of LGBTQ friends who are, and a lot of people think those two like can't work together. And then you have someone like Mack showing them, hey, this is possible. And I think that stuff like that, again, would have been better than fighting and drinking.
What's the real issue? What's the real issue? She's trying to cheat on her girlfriend with the wrong motherfucker, me. And she's denying it. Killed my girl. I've been with her for 6 years.
Also, I liked how they went into people's backgrounds and their families as well. So this is a kind of interesting thing that I noticed. There's 12 cast members, and I would say at least 6 had some form of like severe trauma due to the fact that they're gay. So you, like I said, you had Haley, you had Jordan, the thing with the letter. You had Olivia. Yes, okay, I would say it's more like her dad being a douche and getting new wife, new life, which Olivia having the exact same situation going on here, so I feel you. And then you had Jordan writing the letter to her grandparents, which yes, turned out okay, but she still carried that around and had all that for 10 years or, well, her life. You had Shiva, who again, it was like her parents were cool, but the situation with like where they're from and like larger family. And then you had Summer and Nelly, who everything's cool now, but they both got visibly upset when they started talking about when they first came out. Like, that's deep, deep trauma and scars. And if you're not gay, like, you don't have that. You don't have to sit someone down, like Jordan said, and say, I'm gay. Like, it's fucking awful that people go through this. And I think they started to go there and then they were like, okay, but never mind. So I would have loved for them to have talked more about that, because although I don't think every gay show needs to have like some coming out story, because that's basically the only gay story they ever tell apart from killing people off, but I think that there will be a lot of younger people watching this, or even people that they haven't come out, or people in the exact same situation. So the fact that there's so many people, there's so many iterations of it. So like maybe someone has a situation that's like Nelly with her parents, and then another situation where they have a external family, or, you know, larger family that's more like Shiva's. Like, there's, you know, everything, and being able for people to see themselves and their families reflected in what's going on screen really helps, you know, people become attached to the cast and the show. So before I talk specifically about each cast member, let's get into the things I did not like. And I think you've kind of picked up on it by now. That is all this petty drama, fighting, and like the couple v couple thing. I did not like that.
You could have paid me to fuck that hoe.
It was just brutal. I think that this was a terrible choice to show all this like infighting and stuff, because most of the time, I mean, friends are friends. Like, you're friends for a reason. And especially in the LGBTQ community, people are very, very close because they're like found family, because you do have these situations where some people have been isolated by their family because of their sexual orientation. So I would have loved if it was more, these are my ride or die, like we are us versus the world, and there was external factors that they were dealing with rather than infighting, which it just wasn't it. Also, you sometimes have this like portrayal of lesbians in the media that are like cold and predatory. So I didn't like how they were like going down that angle in a way with some of them. I loved when they would meet up and they would all like give each other compliments about like their hair and what they're wearing and stuff. And that's such like a female friendship thing, especially, again, like I know I'm like talking about lesbians a bit like a caricature, but the way a lesbian like appreciates women and they are one too, so they know all the hard work that goes into like doing a makeup look or like getting your hair done and stuff like that. So I'm very like that myself. I noticed Cuppie was really like complimentary, and I love stuff like that.
Making like little snack cups. I love charcuterie. You're so talented. So I know that Summer and Marissa feel a certain type of way about Haley and Bree.
Like I hated the drama. I hated all the petty fighting and stuff.
I think you're a snake, and I don't trust anything you say, so really bad for you.
But it only comes out once I tell the truth about Murphy. Because I've never told Haley or Murphy about my personal business.
I think that you saw certain characters that were very like, they seem to be extremely mature and over this stuff, and I think maybe if they were the focus, it wouldn't have been so much about that. And you also saw some aspects of like super ride or die relationships. So by that I mean Mel, when Haley threw the drink, Mel, fantastic reaction, and the way that she took her aside and was like, we're too old for this, like we're not throwing drinks, like
It has nothing to do with me, but the drink throwing, dude, it's like, we're too old for that. Like, I can't respect that. I mean, literally they were getting in her face, like, I'll literally fight a bitch, I don't care.
that is exactly what I would do. And yeah, I didn't like how then she like upset Mel, but that situation, I'm trying to think like, how would my friendship group react if everybody was like plied with alcohol and the cameras were all following you around? Like, I mean, my friends, like my 5 best friends are ride or die 20 plus years, you know, they would never do that. But there's people in my bigger friendship group who, when I think about all the alcohol and the cameras, yeah, I mean, you never know how you're going to respond, right? And then I also probably think there was some people like, you know, they're going to try and instigate these things. Like by them, I mean Amazon. So, and as well, like they cut all this down to 8 episodes. Like they could give anyone a villain edit, and Brianna certainly got one, but I'll talk about that more in a minute. And I also think the super ride or die, like good relationships, you saw Olivia, Jordan, Mack, they all seem to be really, really loyal friends, and I really appreciated that. I thought that came across well. And then you had people like Shiva and Cuppie who were super sweet and seemed to be more like the peacemaker people that were in the middle. And yeah, those two were 2 of my favorites, and I think that they came across really well as friends and also to the audience. So the cast members themselves, my absolute number 1, adorable. I love them. I want to hang out with them. I want to be friends with them. I want to go to their wedding. Is Ali and Nelly. Like every time they were on screen, I was just like, oh my god, you guys are so cute.
The best emotions anytime my mom says that she's coming to town, because genuinely she is my world. I feel like I knew her from like a past life.
And they're both like so stunning too. And I loved how Ali was like so beautiful. And then she had like her hat and style and stuff. Like, I loved it. I think they were both great, and I love the way they took their moms out.
So she never really went out. This is gonna be her first girls' night. She's always with my dad, so I know. And my mom too. I mean, I've never had a girls' night with her. This is gonna be epic.
Like my favorite shots in the show, like this is more a bit like film nerdy, was when they were walking down Ybor and they had the cameras, and like it was like 3 or 4 of them, and then it was like slow-mo. And like normally that stuff I'm like, oh god, slow-mo, but I don't know, it was really nice. And then I think the added thing of like Ybor and stuff, it looked really good. And the one where they were with their moms, it was so cute. So I really love them. I think that they clearly have a great relationship. The thing I didn't like was, and this has nothing to do with them because they're perfect, but when Summer and Marissa were like telling them basically they couldn't be friends with Brianna and Haley, like I didn't like that. But overall, I said I didn't like that couple v couple thing. I think most of the cast came across like really well. Like I loved Cuppie and Olivia and Mel, and as I said, I loved Ali and Nelly. Like everyone was great. I do think that Brianna got a really heavy villain edit, and I think that they could have gone either way with this because it was such like a couple thing. I think that there's things they could have done to make Summer and Marissa the Brianna and Haley, and I would love to know, like, you know, how these things are so heavily edited that I would have loved to have seen the things that they cut out to make that like tiki bar thing, and then the fight at the mum's night, because I've spoken to a couple of them behind the scenes, and it's, you know, it seems a lot more like it's a mutual, you know, disagreement thing, issues. I mean, because I do think like they filmed this from March until June, and again, it's 8 episodes of 40 minutes and there's fucking 12 of them. There were some episodes that some of them were barely in it, because 12 is a huge cast. And I think that there's a lot of people who, if you followed them around with a camera full with alcohol for months, that you could pick out their worst moments. I mean, would anyone, if anybody filmed me for a year, would anyone be able to film me like throwing a drink, pushing someone, screaming at someone, like recording someone on my phone? No, they wouldn't, because I don't behave that way. But I think that somebody filmed you for 6 months, that they could pick out, you know, 40 minutes of your worst fucking moments. Like, I had an argument in the street yesterday with a man because he keeps parking his fucking car in the middle of the road every single day outside my house and blocking my driveway. But that wasn't my best moment of this past 6 months. But if you just saw that, then maybe you would think I was crazy. Anyway, there's been like discussion about, oh, they were all friends before, and like it seemed in the show that some of them were more acquaintances, and how did that work out? And again, like I do have interviews coming with them, which we'll talk about this more, but just to kind of round out the video, that they all have told me that they do have a bigger group. So some of the people just like didn't want to be on camera. Some of them couldn't because of their jobs or like other situations. So I think that like if you, like I have a really big friendship group. Like, as I said, my 5 ride or die, like they are, I trust them with everything, like no question. But when you look at my bigger group, which is probably like, you know, 18 people, which is around what theirs is bigger with the people who couldn't be in the show. And there are some people in that group that like, I would never just call and be like, hey, you and me go to coffee, but we go to dinner every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So I think that this situation, if you pulled out certain members of your friendship group, gave everyone shit tons of alcohol every time, and literally rolled up with a camera crew, like it's gonna cause some issues. Like it is. And I know also some people were saying about Haley and Brianna and like how much control they had. They told me with their own mouths, like they had no control whatsoever. Like all they did was bring them the idea of the show, and they also like they filmed a lot of the talking heads in their house, and like they, you know, like helped set things up and stuff like that. So they didn't have control over like editing, storyline, nothing like that. So overall, as I said, I did like the show a lot more than I thought, but also I am a 30-something-year-old middle-class white woman that lived in Tampa for a decade, so I'm pretty much like the key, you know, demographic they're going after, I think. But I would have loved to have seen more about like careers, their like real life, rather than just let's all go get fucked up. And I would have loved to have known more about like their families or anything. And although I don't think that you necessarily have to have this like big coming out thing, and when you're this age too, like you've been out for ages and it's not something that you think about every day, but I would have liked to have seen maybe them navigating the way things are in their business or career or something like that, because there are different aspects, because, you know, you're a woman or whatever. And then also I did speak a tiny bit to Brianna and Haley about this, that the parties that they have and stuff, like some of that is to do with COVID. And then also the thing that I can relate to on this is sometimes when you go out, unless you go to specifically a gay bar and you're with your girlfriend or you're with other lesbians, like people are fucking annoying. And it happened all the time to me in Tampa if I didn't go to gay bars, and it was like, you're really a lesbian? You don't look like one. And it's like, fuck. You know what I mean? So I think that dealing with more situations like that too. So overall, like, do I think this is going to change the face of television? No. But will it entertain you for a couple of hours? Yes. And also, I'm always going to watch a show with lesbians in it, because I'd pick any lesbian over some hetero mess any day of the week. But I understand that there's criticisms of the show too, and I just think that yes, give your opinion and all that stuff, but I have also seen people like attacking them, and I you know, I will never condone this, and I get shit for literally telling people treat people like a human fucking being. Like it's I just don't understand people who won't put their real name, won't put their real face, and then they will go and attack someone over their looks or whatever. And it takes an immense amount of courage to be able to put yourself on television under your real face and name and being your real self. It's not easy, and there's always going to be people who don't like you. Like, from literally 1 second of looking at you, there will be people who won't like you and say really nasty things. So I really commend them for all doing this and putting it out there, because we need more lesbians in the media. So anyway, that's all we got time for today. This has been a bit of a long video, so I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I will be back with my interviews very, very soon. So make sure that you are subscribed, that you like the video, that you're following me over on social media. Check out my Patreon, as we're having our first watch party on Friday. And also I have a merch store if you want to check those out. As I said, December 1st, we're starting our advent calendar, so make sure you have your notifications on. And as always, make sure to stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.